Is it recording now?
Yes, it's recording now.
Oh, my eye just went out and fall out. Could you help me look for it? It's gone. Could you help me, please?
You're a silly head. Okay, we're going to do story time with Kenzie, and we're going to read Flat Stanley and the Firehouse.
Make some room on your pillow.
Stanley Lambchop lived with his mother, his father, and his little brother Arthur.
Oh, Mommy.
Yeah.
I want Daddy to drive right down, and I will sit right down like a beggar, and you sit next to me right down, and Hayden will sit down and like a big boy.
Okay, that sounds good.
And I need some toys of that.
Okay. What about a picnic basket?
Yeah, we need one.
Okay.
And a flag too.
Okay. Stanley was 4 feet tall, about a foot wide.
Oh, Mommy, I want this kind of pack that sticks together.
Okay. And a half an inch thick.
Mommy, could you buy one for me and Daddy?
Okay, I'll think about it.
All right.
He had been flat ever since a bulletin board fell on him. Stanley's family found it handy having a flat boy at home, and Stanley didn't mind helping out. Stanley held tools for his father while Mr. Lambchop repaired the car. Stanley helped Arthur practice his backflips. Stanley gave Mrs. Lambchop a perfect place to roll out pie crusts, except when he felt ticklish.
What does checklist mean?
When he tickles. Tickle, tickle, tickle. You know.
Dad tickles Mama.
Stanley made a good stencil, too. Hold still, said Arthur. Stanley held his breath as Arthur traced him carefully. Children all over the city were entering a poster contest for Fire Safety Month. I hope we win the trip to the firehouse, said Arthur. Me too, said Stanley. I've always wanted to slide down the pole. The next morning, a letter arrived. Hey, guess what? Shouted Arthur. Hay is for horses, Mrs. Lambchop said. Try to remember that, dear. Sorry, said Arthur. Guess what? Our poster won the contest. We're going to the firehouse on Saturday. Mrs. Lambchop clapped. I knew you boys had my talent for art, she said proudly. Stanley and Arthur practiced fire drills all week long.
Why is he like that?
Because he's flat, so he can't roll unless he rolls up like a fruit roll-up. See, let's show the people how he's rolled up like a fruit roll-up.
See, everyone, he's like a fruit roll-up.
Arthur crawled
like a carpet too. I like it.
Yeah, like a carpet too. Arthur crawled around the house on his hands and knees.
I like the doggy the best.
Yeah, he's cute.
So cute.
Stanley did the stop, drop, and roll.
What's his name again?
Mostly the roll. Hold on, it'll tell you in a second. At last Saturday came. Mrs. Lambchop drove to the firehouse.
Does it say on the bottom?
Yeah, it says it right there. Welcome, bellowed Chief Abbott. A puppy bounced at his feet. Arf, 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 arf. Don't mind Spark, said the chief.
His name is Spark. I forgot his name.
Yeah.
Silly me.
He's still in training. Oh, I think we missed a page. Yep, we missed a page. Chief Abbott led the Lambchops through the firehouse kitchen. We firefighters cook up some tasty meals, he said. Mr. Lambchop got out his camera. He took a picture of a pot of chili.
Why is he looking on his face?
Oh, because he wanted to go down the pole. He didn't want to use the stairs. Everyone went on to the bunk room. Very nice, said Mrs. Lambchop. Can I see the trucks? Said Arthur. Of course, said Chief Abbott. He led everyone down to the garage. Stanley was disappointed. He had wanted to get there by pole. See, that's why he's looking. He wanted to go down the pole. Boots and pants lay on the floor.
Hey, Mommy.
Yes.
He would say, one missing on the end, then he would slide down the pole.
Yeah. Boots and pants lay on the floor. Oh my, said Mrs. Lambchop. I could really tidy up if you'd like.
Why are they on the floor?
He's going to tell you in a second. Chief Abbott laughed. "We leave those out so we can jump into them in an emergency," he said. "Neat," said Stanley. "See, they leave their boots and pants on the floor just like that, so in an emergency, firemen just jump right in, pull their pants up, and jump on the fire truck." Chief Abbott pointed to the ladder truck. "Climb on up if you'd like." "Wow," said Arthur. The boys scrambled onto the truck. Spark was right behind them. Suddenly, the alarm bell rang. "Chief, code 9 on Oak Street," called a firefighter.
Why is she smiling then?
I don't know.
Oh, because he wanted to go down the pot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The chief turned to the lamb chops. "How would you folks like to come along on a rescue?" "A rescue? Will it be safe?" asked Mr. Lambchop. "You bet," said Chief Abbott. "Code 9 means a cat up a tree. Probably Furball again." Mr. Lambchop looked at his wife. She gave a little nod. "Yes," yelled Stanley and Arthur. That's why they're happy, because they're going to get to go on a rescue. That's pretty cool. See, they're so happy. Yay!
Yeah.
"Stanley, turn on the siren. Arthur, hit the lights," shouted Chief Abbott. "My goodness, is that necessary?" asked Mrs. Lambchop. "No," said Chief Abbott. "It's just more fun this way." Watch. The truck raced out of the station. Soon it pulled up to a tall tree. A tiny cat shivered at the top. "She's pretty high up this time," said Chief Abbott. Spark panted at the chief's feet. "All right, let's go get her down." 2 firefighters raised the ladder. The Lambchops moved out of the way. Chief Abbott climbed until Furball was just a few feet away.
Mom,
"Good kitty," he said, stretching out his hand. "Come here, Furball." "Yes?"
why aren't they standing right now?
"Because they're watching the kitty in the tree. The kitty's stuck." Spark started to bark. "Arf, arf, arf." For a second, Furball froze. Then she jumped the other way. "Furball!" cried Chief Abbott. He was too late. Furball was heading for the ground. The Lambchops looked up. Their mouths were open in surprise.
Why were they surprised?
Because, look, the cat's flying through the air. He jumped out of the tree. Oh no, what are they going to do? All at once, Stanley threw himself onto the grass. "Grab my hands," he told his mother. Mrs. Lambchop grabbed his hands. "Grab my feet," he told Arthur. But Arthur didn't move. "Hey," shouted Mrs. Lambchop at the top of her lungs. "Grab his feet." Arthur blinked. He grabbed Stanley's feet.
Did he look at the cat?
Yeah, he was looking at the cat.
Why?
Because the cat's jumping out of a tree and they have to do something.
Why?
"Stretch!" cried Stanley. Arthur and Mrs. Lambchop stretched Stanley between them. They were not a second too soon. Boing! Meow! Furball bounced on Stanley's belly, then landed safely on the ground. The firefighters started clapping.
Why were they clapping?
Because Stanley saved them.
Whoa.
He saved the cat. The firefighters couldn't do it. Oh, I gotta get this page apart.
This one missing, right?
Yeah. Arthur and Mrs. Lambchop stood Stanley back up. Arthur looked at his mother. "Hay is for horses," he said. "Remember?" Mrs. Lambchop grinned. "Good work, Lambchop," said Chief Abbott, racing over. "How can we ever thank you?" "Well," Stanley said, "there is one thing." "What is it?"
Go down the pole.
Whee! He got to go down the pole. Yay! The end. Time for bed. Say good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks for reading with us.
Thanks for reading with us.
All right.
I'm getting sleepy.